And now that we're at the point of COVID-19, those marketing channels dried up because they couldn't use them anymore for COVID-19. So basically now they're looking at different channels that were always there, but they never used them. So that visual brand was like more like a wave, because it was like kind of me hand holding my clients saying, okay, let's try this, because it wasn't their way to do it before. And some of them have seen a lot of good success by changing certain marketing strategies. But with that, what should people be doing now, John, to prepare for life after COVID-19?
Well, they need to talk to you, first of all, and get your advice on that, on the branding, right? But no, I'm serious. They do. But on another note, they really need to. That came across like a joke, but I was being serious.
I know, but
yeah. The number one thing I believe is, as much as someone can work their business online, and I know some things you can't, right? You can't, if you're a dentist, you can't clean someone's teeth online, but just do what you can to prepare online and have some business. Your business has to have some sort of monthly recurring revenue. Just figure out how to do that, because I have, residual income, monthly recurring revenue, whatever you want to say. There is a way to monetize your business that way. Most businesses can do that, even though it might take some out of the box thinking. And so one of the things to do to prepare for life after COVID is, just make sure you value your customer more than you ever have. Because if anything, this has made people appreciate we still need to connect with humans more than ever. And I know a lot of it is on Zoom, like you said, virtual stuff like you're doing for your real estate, Joe, and all that. But that is what I would be doing, is preparing after COVID. I would definitely be doing something in that area.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree with you on that. It's just the way how things are going. And I loved how you said we still need human connection, because we do. And you can probably agree with me. When we were on lockdown for about a good month and a half, somewhere in there, where they started doing phase 1 opening and all this other stuff, we live in Florida. We are in the Sunshine State. And it was almost like we were living in Michigan during like dead winter, where there's 6 foot of snow and you can't get out the door. No one was getting outside, and everyone was going literally stir crazy, that they wanted to, rip people's heads off as they're trying to get out the door. But I think the connection with people is still connect and talk to them. And even to the point, and I don't know, you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but before COVID-19, I'd be going into like the grocery store or any type of shop, doesn't matter, and walk down the aisle, and I'd have a person push me or bump in front of me and try to do things and all this other stuff. I'm like, really? You're not saying excuse me? Were you raised in a barn? But now, because of COVID-19, I've never had so many people come over to me and say, oh, excuse me, oh, pardon me, and all this other stuff. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, it took a pandemic for this to kick in manners. I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. So but
no doubt.
Yeah, but it was interesting. So what is the number one thing you advise entrepreneurs now?
The number one thing, easily for me, it's personal development. I can't think of anything more important, like in any profession, for someone to work on themselves. And when I start coaching people that are young or new, not young, but new entrepreneurs, because I have people in their 60s that start out with our company, so they're new entrepreneurs. And you know what? I tell them 15 minutes a day. You have to find an Audible, a book. You have to work on your mind, work on yourself. There is just, again, like we said, the last question, Joe, is we need human connection more than ever. But not you, Joe. But if someone's a jerk and you're not getting sales. You're not building your business. You're repelling. You're either repelling or attracting people. You're either attracting or repelling money to you. I mean, you're repelling or attracting friends. Like, there's always that balance in life. And if someone doesn't believe that, then they're repellers. So there's no question people need to just keep working on themselves. I believe if there's no floating, you're either growing or you're in atrophy. There's no such thing as just staying neutral.
Oh, yes. And that is a great point you bring up, John, because I tell this to my clients, and I even tell it to my friends and family all the time, is what's the one thing that business always does? They grow, okay? And that's a successful business. But I'm going to play devil's advocate now. I've actually seen and dealt with businesses on the other side of the coin that don't grow. And what happens if you don't evolve? You will go extinct. So this is great ways to change your mindset, to learn new ideas and everything. And I love the idea that you mentioned about Audible and ebooks and even books themselves, that even though, my sister loves the touch and feel of a book because she knows she has a material object in her hand, but she still does it on Amazon, but she doesn't like the Amazon as much because it's not a book. And some people love those books and they want to read. But me, I'm not a book person. An Audible person. I will admit it. So I love to have that listening to while I'm either driving to a location or sitting and I have a moment to myself to listen to the Audible book. And it's always good to keep learning, growing, and knowing what is out there in a sense. Because obviously, as we mentioned way before, you're going to need someone to look out for you and as a mentor, or find someone that you can ask. And these are people that have done these ideas and inspirational things that you can look into and say, oh, crap, I never thought of that type of scenario. Maybe I should look into it. But yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
But, anyway, I know you mentioned in the last question, but I'm going to dive deeper into this. And I mean, John, if you want to go on a list of 20, 30, I have no problem with this because I want you to really think about this and pick out the best ones. Okay. What books or audio or audibles do you recommend for any person to listen to help grow themselves?
Yeah, you're right. So there's the tried and true ones like Think and Grow Rich and How to Win Friends and Influence People. And, there's a lot of great books out there. And those are, I just mentioned two great ones, but the one book that has impacted me the most in my life, like by far has the greatest content, is called High Performance Habits. And it's by Brendon Burchard, who I never even heard of that guy until someone recommended this book to me. It's Brendon, it's B-U-R, Burchard, High Performance Habits. That is unbelievable. Every chapter builds on the next one. And it's all about, as simple as, describing how some of the things that you get out of habit with, high performers spend more time, with positive people than with negative people, right? And that's not, that just, me saying that just made, I don't want to make it like that's such a general book. It is so deep. This book is so great. And it could be for a doctor, a lawyer, like a sales entrepreneur guy like me, real estate mogul like you, Joe. This book is so powerful. It's on Audible. And it's funny you mentioned this. I have the hard copy as well because this is the most underlined book I've ever written. I feel like every page has golden nuggets in it. And I've read this several times, and every time I read it, I get more stuff out of it. Because, Joe, you and I last year, we're different. We've evolved. We've grown. We've learned in just 12 months. So when you read a good book, 12 months later, you're seeing it from a better perspective, a higher level. So you're learning and growing. So I'm a big fan of, I'd rather read a great book 5 times than read a good book 5 different books, 1 time each.
Yeah.
So that again, I don't know if that made sense. If I chopped that up, but did you get what I was saying there?
Oh, I definitely did. And I, just like you, I always like to have an Audible with me, but sometimes I don't have Audibles, and sometimes I actually get the books because what I like to do is, just for my college years, I like to mark the pages with highlighter or dog ear them or whatnot, because sometimes they have some great content that you can actually utilize. So do I do Facebooks? Yes, for my own marketing needs. Yes, I'm going to not deny that. But I actually have a few books that I'm kind of in between right now. And I'm reading each one at a time because sometimes everyone's different. For me, when I get, unless it's like Jurassic Park, when I read that book back in the 90s, and I was basically like, oh God, this is the greatest book ever. And I read it like within like X amount. Some of the books, I read them to a point and then I stop and then I go to another book because to me, I feel like I want to keep not being listening to the same person over and over again. I want to see if someone has some kind of other idea that I didn't think about and then kind of go back and review that and say, that's why this was this. But the few books that I'm looking at right now is The Little Red Book of Selling by Jeffrey Gitomer. And that was really, it's a small read. It really is. But I love it because it gave a lot of information of how to sell yourself and how to find selling methods and, how to introduce yourself to local communities and such. I'm also in Untrapped, Freedom Manifesto by Brian Carruthers, which that is a great one to become an entrepreneur and escape the grind and find freedom and happiness. The other two books, I'm just going to mention them, but one is Ways to Book Yourself Solid All the Time, and the other one is it's a dummy book. I'll say that it's a dummy's book to marketing. And even though you might say, Joe, why are you reading a dummy's book? Dummy books are really good because they still give you some information, quality information. But other than that, we are at the point in the episode where now, John, I'm going to turn it back over to you so you can give you a chance to tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you if they want to learn more about you, ACN, and maybe you can help them grow and recommend more books to them. So go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. And it's funny, you mentioned Brian Carruthers. I have one of his books too. He's really awesome. So, really quick, just, I've been with
Sure.
ACN for 9 years. It's what I do full time. It's what I love about it. It's the world. I don't own the company. I'm an independent business owner, 1099, which is great from a tax perspective. Being 1099 is unbelievable and I'm not a CPA. Talk to your tax preparer. But I love the fact that I have freedom that within the world's largest direct seller of telecom, energy, identity theft protection, we broker services that people use every day. So like, for example, Verizon, Sprint, AT&T Wireless, those are 3 of our companies. So simply put, if you want to keep it local or would love to have me look at your bills, one of our biggest promotions we've run for over 5 years, if you have Verizon or Sprint or AT&T, there's ways that we can help you eliminate your bill. And I love it. It's called the Strive for 5.
Let's give the information, phone number, email, website that you want any of our listeners to go to, because I'll let them contact you so that way they can learn more about you. But go ahead.
Yeah. So the best way to reach me is email or phone. I mean, I'm good with my main line is 847-707-9103. And my email is very simple, John@JohnBarringer, which is BARRINGER, John@JohnBarringer.com, and love to chat with people about this.
Yeah, and I want to thank you again, John, for being a guest on my show. I love to have you back on my show, just as I hope to be back on your show again because it was wonderful and I love it.
Yeah,
and one day we'll go back out and network again. But other than that, I want to thank you again, and you have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.